welcome. I'm Sandra Peart, Dean of the Jepson School of Leadership Studies, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to Prelude, one of my favorite events of the year. This year, the Jepson School of Leadership Studies is celebrating its 25th anniversary. So the class of 2020 is a very special class to us indeed. About a month ago, we celebrated our 25th anniversary with a gala event at the Jefferson Hotel. The faculty spoke, some of the faculty spoke, and our alumni, and it was wonderful to see some of our students together with our alumni and our faculty all celebrating this wonderful experiment, the Jepson School of Leadership Studies, which permanently changed the landscape of higher education in the United States. At the lunch before that gala event, Mr. Jepson, Bob Jepson, sat down with some of our faculty and students and alumni and talked about the founding of this school. And he reminded us that the school was set up 25 years ago in order to take about 100 students. I'm very pleased to say that this evening, for the first time in our 25-year history, we will actually induct slightly more than 100 students into the Jepson School of Leadership Studies. So you're a very special class indeed, class of 2020. I want to reassure you or let you know something you already know, I'm sure, but confirm for you that our faculty, our staff, and our current students will welcome you into the Jepson School of Leadership Studies and make sure you thrive within our community. That welcoming might involve mentoring you as you conduct some research for a thesis or an honors thesis. It might be helping you to train for the Ethics Bowl, which just took place in Florida. It might be teaching you, as will happen very shortly now, critical thinking and methods of inquiry, the class that you will take starting in January. Your faculty will open a new world for you, a world of ideas from a variety of disciplines, whether it's anthropology, economics, political science, English literature, religious studies, psychology, philosophy, or history. They will challenge you to think about things in new ways. So some things about the class of 2020. This year we're once again admitting an excellent class of students. You're not only our 25th anniversary class, but you're our largest class ever. We have 103 inductees, not all of whom are here this evening. Some of them are studying abroad or have other obligations. 93 sophomores and 10 juniors in this class who will join the school this evening. You're an extremely diverse and accomplished set of scholars. Your average GPA is 3.42. 14 of you are science leadership scholars. Among you, we have Bonner scholars, we have club and Division I athletes, participants in the Honor Council, in the Judicial Council, mock trial, Model UN. 11 of you are artists performing in theater or music. We have 41 volunteers among you, 20 orientation aides, 23 Greek officers, and of course many of you are members of student government. Welcome to all of you. We're excited about tonight's program, and now we'll have some reflections first from Josh Young, Jepson class of 2017, and then Lauren Onestak, class of 2018. Please welcome Josh to the stage.
Good evening, Jepson faculty, friends, members of this outstanding community, and most importantly, to our many reasons for being here tonight, our new Jepsonites. It is truly an exciting time within an academic career when you begin to piece together the puzzle. You begin to figure out what it is that you would like to do with your life and how you would like to approach that. I sat in the very back during Prelude, somewhere along in the back there, and I was the last to cross the threshold. A lot of that had to do with my last name being Young, but it was fitting for me because I came into Jepson and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a first generation student, and I sat in my first Jepson class, leadership 102. And as I was sitting in the class, my professor did something very strange. He said, if you would like, you all can just sit on the floor, cross your legs, take your shoes off. And I thought, what an eccentric professor. I've never had any professor like this before. As some of you have probably already discovered and will discover, here at Jepson, faculty, professors, staff members, they are eccentric and they are eclectic. So the more I sat in class and the longer I stayed here, I began to understand what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a meaningful impact in my immediate and external community. And I wanted to translate the leadership skills that I earned, that I attained when I was in high school, and translate that into a career where I could showcase the same. Not only did Jepson attract me as an environment where I could become more socially conscious and learn about leadership, which is an important distinction because many people ask you, are they training you to be leaders? And the answer is no. They're providing you examples of leadership. They're challenging you to think about leadership. They're giving you cases of leadership, but they're not telling you how to be a leader. And that is an important distinction. But I also felt at home here. It was the one building on campus that I could go into my classes, see my professors, and they smile at me. And I felt as though my brown face was not the thing that they were focusing on. They were focusing on my potential, and I feel as though they focus on the potential of every student. And this is what makes Jepson unique. So today, as I think about 3 years in Jepson School, I'll graduate in December, so I'm class of 2017, but a little bit of a super senior. But as I think about my time here, I was able to serve on JSGA, the Jepson Student Government Association, for 3 years. 2 terms were consecutive, and my last one, which I am on right now. I never thought I would serve on any association, let alone one within the Jepson School. Many students have come and go. Many have remained. But the purpose that this university has set, I see clearly represented in the Jepson School each and every day. Jepson continues to represent the true essence of a diversified student body and of an interdisciplinary, intercultural, and international curriculum. Whether you intend to be a Jepson major or minor, you have chosen to approach education in a bold and unorthodox way. Brace yourself for the what is leadership, and what are you going to do with that when you graduate? The same people still ask me the same questions every other Sunday. Your answers will be different than mine, and your answers will change depending on where you are at a given point in your life and in your academic career. But one thing that is true, each one of us will have a transformative impact on society, because once you're a Jepson graduate, you have no other choice. You all have taken on the mantle of leadership, a commitment to social responsibility, and a healthy regard for the impossible. Whether you become teachers, doctors, engineers, lawyers, scientists, artists, politicians, sociologists, anthropologists, trading gurus, or public servants, Jepson will be forever with you and within you. Aspire much and accomplish more. Thank you.
Good evening. I want to begin by welcoming you, the class of 2020, to the Jepson School of Leadership Studies. As I look back on my Jepson experience, I am amazed at the breadth and the depth of what I've learned, and I am confident that when you look back on your experience, you will feel the same. I could talk at length about the benefits of a Jepson education, but since you chose to join the school, I feel confident that you are already well acquainted with most of those facts. Instead, tonight, I want to do something very Jepson-esque. I want to lay out a problem that I see and discuss how we, the Jepson School, can work to change it. There seems to be a human tendency to judge ideas based on the messenger's identity rather than the inherent value of the idea. One extremely disheartening example is the case of Alan Turing. Alan Turing was a mathematical genius. He was at the forefront of the Allies' efforts during World War II to break the German code Enigma, and today he is considered the father of modern computing. However, for a long time, Turing's ideas were ignored or rejected due to his sexual identity. Turing aptly described how his ideas were rejected regardless of merit, saying, "I'm afraid that the following syllogism may be used by some in the future. Turing believes machines think. Turing lies with men. Therefore, machines do not think." In present-day America, I see this rejection frequently in political contexts. The distinction of conservative or liberal no longer simply tells what you believe. It predicts and limits who will believe you when you present an idea. We automatically and reflexively banish an idea from the scope of possible truths if we believe it comes from, quote, the other side. This banishment of possible truths is not benign. I believe it hurts us in two key ways. First, when we reflexively assume that nothing the other side is saying can be true, we are deprived of a more thorough understanding of a given issue. Although we don't like to believe it, we need the opinions and wisdom of those who differ from us politically. Jonathan Haidt, a researcher of the psychology of morality and moral emotions, spoke to this need in an interview. He said, quote, "Liberals and conservatives each have a piece of the puzzle. Each are really perceptive about certain moral values, about the needs of what it takes to have a humane society." Second, as we continuously dismiss ideas reflexively, we end up dismissing individuals in the process. We create a vast divide between us and them that tricks us into believing that it is okay to hate and perhaps even harm one another. This divide is exemplified by the hatred and the violence during the 2016 presidential campaigns. In San Jose, California, protesters attacked and threw eggs at Trump supporters. Individuals were hit, car windows were broken, and Trump hats were set on fire. Here in Richmond, protesters at a Trump rally had their signs snatched from them by the pro-Trump crowd, and a rally attendee spit in a protester's face. This type of hatred, animosity, and physical harm is a direct result of our desire to classify one side as the other. We undermine the humanity of those on the other side when we refuse to view any of their ideas as plausible or worthy of discussion. Here in Jepson, we can create an environment that engages thoughtfully with ideas that are different than our own. We need to communally reject the notion that one side has a monopoly on ideas for how to make the world a better place. I think we can do this in two ways. First, individually, we need to strive to become more ideologically balanced in our personal lives. One easy way to do this is through our use of social media. Our Facebook feeds frequently exemplify our failings in ideological balance. We create an echo chamber around us that supplies us with a one-dimensional perspective by unfriending those with a divergent opinion. Instead, we should remain Facebook friends, and we should read the articles and watch the videos that express the perspective of the other side. The more challenging but more rewarding way we can ideologically balance our personal lives is through in-person dialogue. My best friend is the opposite of me politically. However, each time we discuss politics, I learn a great deal from what she identifies as societal problems and how she believes those problems can be solved. By hearing and engaging with divergent perspectives in interpersonal settings, we can humanize debates that are frequently polarized across party lines. Second, as a school, we need to create a culture that permits and encourages broad seeking of knowledge in the classroom. We should strive to read a diverse array of political ideologies. The works of conservative thinkers like Thomas Sowell, Milton Friedman, and George Will should have a place in our curriculum. We should also work to structure and conduct discussions in a way that allows all perspectives to be shared and encourages each of us to engage with ideas that are different than our own. As you join Jepson, I hope you will join me in thinking critically about how we can broaden and deepen our thinking on issues. Together, we can create a place where ideas are explored, regardless of the identity of the messenger. Thank you.
Good evening, incoming leadership students. I congratulate you on your acceptance of the challenge to study what I think is the most consequential subject that you can study. Leadership today is arguably more important than any other time in history. Global connectivity can empower anyone to be an influential leader, share their voice, and gain a following, which underlines the need for excellent leaders to steward this power. The infrastructure for influence is there. It is our responsibility as the next generations of leaders to responsibly wield the power of influence that has been afforded to us. I am pleased to introduce one of my favorite professors who teaches exactly how to sharpen the sword of influence, cut through so-called fake news, and use that power ethically. Dr. Price is probably most notorious for teaching critical thinking, a class that all of you will take next semester. It's a class that I consider to be one of the most crucial in my education at Richmond. In this class, you learn how to construct arguments cogently, destruct arguments as fallacious, and find truth in an ever-pluralistic world. His leadership ethics class, which I'm now in, is a class that illustrates just how convoluted the intersection of leadership and ethics can be, and how we can work to overcome the sometimes malicious temptations of leadership. No matter your career, you'll be given a platform in which to exert influence. Dr. Price teaches us how to wield as much influence as we can, but for the greater good. And you wouldn't know it by his handsome stature, but Dr. Price is actually the longest-serving faculty member at the Jepson School. His devotion to Jepson and studying what I consider to be some of the most critically relevant subjects in academia are apparent. I'm pleased to present to you Dr. Terry Price.
That was very nice, Troy. Thank you. Really. The student comments were wonderful, weren't they? They were fantastic. I also want to thank Leland and the rest of the JSGA for asking me to speak this evening. In her kind invitation, Leland pointed to my, quote, extensive involvement in Jepson, which is a very nice way of saying, boy, you've been around for a long time. And I have been around for a long time. As Troy said, this is my 20th year in the school, which does make me the longest serving faculty member in Jepson. But I'm not the oldest, not by a long shot. The relevance of which will soon become clear. And let me join the others in congratulating you, the new admits, on your acceptance into the Jepson School. We're very proud to have you as a part of this community of thinkers and doers, and I look forward to getting to know many of you better in critical thinking next semester. But what do I have to offer you tonight? After 20 years in the school, you might think I'd be well placed to give you some direction. But do you really need direction? You're already here, just where you're supposed to be. I've decided the theme of my remarks tonight will be anti-direction, that we sometimes worry too much about direction. You'll see that there's a little direction even in that idea, but I get ahead of myself. Most of you were born about the time I was hired at the Jepson School. That would, of course, make you around 20 years old. I've had ample opportunity recently to think back as best I can to what it was like to be a 20-year-old in college. Don't worry, this is not going to be a when I was your age, things were different speech. In fact, as you'll see, I'll focus on similarities. Freaky similarities. Really freaky similarities. However, I will mention and respond to a challenge you faced that I did not, or at least not nearly to the same extent. So what occasioned my recent reflections? My wife and I were cleaning out our basement. So I was forced finally to go through all those undergraduate papers and syllabi from UNC that I had saved over the years. When I happened upon the papers from my social psychology class, in every essay I referred repeatedly to someone named Forsyth, who it turns out was the author of my social psychology text. And if you didn't know, now a Jepson faculty member. Referred to and argued with. For instance, in one paper, I tried to take him to task for focusing only on the negatives of conformity and ignoring its many positives. It was my first exposure to research on conformity, an idea central to thinking about leadership. And then I came across the Gallows syllabus from Religion 30, Critical Issues, the title of which was to be read either as Holy Lives, Telling Lives, or as Holy Lies, Telling Lies. It could easily have been a leadership studies course. Quote, we shall want to know why certain lives, pious or otherwise, were thought to have been significant, end quote. The text included John Updike's Rabbit Run, Augustine's Confessions, and films such as Beckett and Cool Hand Luke. On day one, the syllabus asked us to engage in a little time travel, to think about how our own lives will be chronicled 100 years in the future. Who was the professor for this course? Believe it or not, at your age, I was sitting in a class with Kaufman, who is also now a Jepson professor. Not 100 years later, but almost exactly 30 years later, Dr. Forsyth, Dr. Kaufman, and I are part of that same community you are officially joining this evening. We surely did not know at the time that we would wind up in leadership studies, and certainly not that we would wind up together in a school of leadership studies. For one thing, Dr. Forsyth had no idea of who I was. I'm not sure he does now. But. And in that large lecture class, Dr. Kaufman probably had at most a vague idea. Now let me pause here as I get perilously close to the cliched, you never know. It's true, as all cliches are, but not my main point. I will also strenuously try to avoid any recommendations about rose smelling and what follows, but consider yourselves warned in case my efforts fail. Doctors Forsyth and Kaufman challenged the 20-year-old me to think hard about important ideas, to immerse myself in those ideas, indeed inspired me to get completely lost in them with no real sense of where my thinking would lead. Little did I know that I was getting an excellent introduction to social, scientific, and humanistic approaches to leadership. Now here you are, around 20 years old, and find yourself sitting in leadership in the humanities or social sciences or in some other Jepson class. If not coincidentally with Forsyth or Kaufman, then with one of our other equally challenging and inspiring professors. You must have been challenged, inspired by the likes of Archer, McDowell, or Seaman, else you wouldn't be here. So now what? Here's the direction part. I have at least some sense of the external expectations on you and your generational peers, not just because I spend a lot of time with college-age students. I also have a daughter who's a sophomore in college, and you guessed it, almost 20 years old. I've watched her and her friends, as well as lots of UR students, negotiate the many demands that you faced and will face. Where are you going to college? And as soon as you get in, if not before, what are you going to major in? And as soon as you declare a major, what are you going to do with that? And before you finish your major, do you have a job yet? For those of you in this room, you not only had to get into the University of Richmond, you also had to apply and be selected to major or minor in leadership studies. How's that for pressure? This is the point in my remarks when you may start to experience an odor that's vaguely rosy. Now that you've been accepted into the school, I hope that you can let go of some of the direction, or at least hold it a little less lightly, a little less tightly. You may have done so already when you decided to pursue leadership studies. Perhaps it wasn't your plan when you arrived at UR. You were going to do business or PPEL or international studies, but you were so captivated by what you learned, say, from the Jepson H's, Harwell, Hayter, Hidalgo, or Hoyt, that you deviated from the plan. Others of you from the very beginning saw the Jepson School as the next step along the path. That's okay too. However you got here, I'm urging you to get a little lost in leadership, petals, thorns, and all. And there's no better place to do it. Here you are free to explore ideas honestly, as Lauren recommends, and to decide what you think before you face the next set of demands and expectations, where there's everything from anthropology with von Ruden to zoology, also with von Ruden. Okay, zoology is a stretch, but you'll see what I mean down the road. Along the way, there'll be lots of questions about ethics and courses up to and including the capstone, and plenty of space to think about politics. Despite their different disciplinary approaches, most Jepson faculty members work in areas that take on central political issues. In addition to faculty I've already named, Bizayo, Flanagan, Goethals, Peart, and Williamson. One of the greatest strengths of the place is that their political perspectives are as varied as their disciplines. To take advantage of your newfound freedom, it's best not to try to name or define what you're up to, or to figure out how leadership studies complements your other majors or minors or advances your career aspirations, or how it'll look on your resume. Try to think of it as less about packaging what is there than as about what will ultimately go in the package. That's hard because our tendency is to assume that we will always be who we currently are, right? Who else would we be? Who else could we be? But there will be plenty of time and times to think about who you become and about how to market yourself to prospective employers. Dean Soderlin and alumni will help you do it. In fact, you'll leave here with an elevator speech that puts a bow on the package. So be free. Easier said than done, right? You leave here tonight comfortably directionless, but hopefully a little inspired and ready to immerse yourself in important ideas. Only to run into Uncle Danny next week at Thanksgiving, who will ask you, so what is leadership? And what are you going to do with that? Well, not Uncle Danny, that's my uncle, and he's the one who would have asked me that question. Your version of Uncle Danny. There are many possible responses, as Josh pointed out, but the one I like best is this. Simply agree with your uncle and say, that's exactly the reason I'm studying leadership. It's so fascinating and I want to figure it out. Who knows where it will take me? Leadership is fascinating. I'm delighted you've joined us in our efforts to understand it, and I look forward to going with you wherever it is that we are now going together. So thank you, and again, congratulations.
Well, good evening, everyone. So this is the moment we've been waiting for, the opportunity where all of you are going to get to meet each member of our newly admitted class. I had the pleasure to start working with these students, some of them before they even came to the University of Richmond. I talked to one family tonight who told me that after they went to a session that I did with some students, their son knew that he was coming here, which is wonderful. And we started this journey in terms of admissions back in August. I was emailing them before classes even began. Probably some of them were annoyed about that, so that we could get the admissions process underway. So they have all been briefed in what was not a very direction-oriented way as they were coming in and assembling. Individuals on every end of the rows, everything's hanging on you. It's up to you all to make certain this goes correctly. But what I'm going to ask is we're going to have each of the students come up to the front of the room. We're going to recognize them. They're going to get a certificate from Dean Peart. They're going to sign our induction book and then return to their seats. And I am desperately going to do justice to everybody's name. And please forgive me if I did not get my phonetic spelling correctly while I was running around at the start. So I'm going to ask Sophia, who everything is riding on her, if you would come up to the front, get the group started. I'm going to ask that we hold our applause till the end because we have a very large class. And I am also going to have some light music playing in the background so it does not seem exceedingly awkward as I read 104 names. So the first person I'd like to acknowledge is Colby Alvino, who cannot be with us here this evening because she's studying abroad. So our first student is Sophia Arce. Sophie Arts. David Atedi, Namisha Bangalore, Miranda Barbosa, Logan Blake, Carly Blessing, Bridget Bodley cannot be with us here this evening, but we wanted to recognize her as a new member of the class. Logan Bonning, Alex Bagamalov, Catherine Brummond, Ellie Bush, Justina Chu is another member of the class who couldn't be here this evening. She's actually doing her service work for her Justice and Civil Society class. Sally Clayton, Olivia Coffey, Edward Curry, Ayala Dalmeda, Aaron Diolio, Maddie Delbo, Erica Ekternock, Megan Dillon, Grant Ekstrom could not be here with us this evening. He is studying abroad. Katie Fell, Eliana Fleischer, Olivia Folger, Connor Frascati, Alex Friedman, Aaron Gano, Rachel Blacken, Rebecca Goldman, Hannah Gauger, Colin Green, Erin Hayden, Justin Hayes, Emma Henderson, Lorea Hernandez, Jade Hines Clark, Harry Hawker, Alyssa Holt, Matt Hollist, Taylor Hochsteeden, Micah Hunter Chang, Lauren Ilsley, Hayden Ivy, Samantha Yeager, Emma Joquin, Paige Jordan, Livy Justice, Kevin Kennedy, Alex Kirk, Rachel Kleiman, Paul Kneppel, Tanner Lacey, Hannah Lankler, Allie Ludwig, Holly Lundeen, Grace Lynch, Catherine Lynch, Abby Lyons, Dan Mahoney, Maddie Manella, Kate McCarthy, Peyton McGovern, Liam McGrinder, Allison McLaughlin, Sarah Messervy, Sarah Milano, Megan Mitchell, Joe Moise, Jack Mullen, Adrian Nash could not be with us this evening. He had a class at this time, but he is also a new member of the class. Emma Nash, Tilly Newhoff, Conrad Niever, Claire Knoppenberger, Lauren O'Brien, J.T. Ullman, Sasha Angley is also a new member of the class. She was not able to join us because she is studying abroad. Jay Palmer, Michael Paul, Cassidy Poole, Michelle Quinless, Jermaine Reynolds, Nicolette Romley, Carolina Rosas, Lexi Russell, Kyle Sabbath is also a new member of the class. He too is studying abroad, so he could not be here with us this evening. Tori Bates Samuel, Jenny Schneider, Jason Schwartz, Julia Schwartz, Dennis Smith is also a new member of the class. He too is studying abroad and could not be with us this evening. Elchoy Tanos, Caroline Thomas, Jamie Tyler, Maureen Oostman, Stella von Spreckelsen, Jackson Wade, Ben Weinstein, Megan Wara, Monique Yan, and the last student this evening that I'd like to recognize is Chloe Zaloom, who too is also studying abroad and could not be here with us this evening. So I would like to ask everyone to give congratulations to the class of 2020 and 2019. So as we have the last of the students finishing up, I do want to point out, I just did add that we are also recognizing members of the class of 2019 because we did admit 9 juniors this year in addition to those sophomores that were admitted as members of the class of 2020. So it's my pleasure now to introduce you to Leland Dameron, who is the president of the Jepson Student Government Association and who has served on Jepson Student Government Association for several years. She will have some closing comments for you this evening, and then we want to make certain to invite all of you out into the foyer where you entered for a lovely dessert reception and an opportunity for you to meet some of the faculty and staff that will be working with your students for the next several years. Leland.
Hello, everyone. Congratulations on your acceptance to Jepson. My name is Leland Dameron, and I'm the president of the Jepson Student Government Association. Tonight, I just want to reflect a little on my own experience in Jepson in hopes of explaining just how much you can gain by engaging in this community. I took Leadership 102 my freshman year simply to cross another general education requirement off the list, totally unaware of the role that Jepson would eventually play in my college experience. To be totally honest, I could not stand that class at first. I remember storming out of class on multiple occasions so frustrated that people were absolutely dismantling my arguments on a regular basis. My ungrounded love for trickle-down economics and my hesitation to give to charity certainly did not stand the test of time at Jepson, thank God. It was the first time in my educational career that I had been asked to really defend my thoughts and beliefs, far beyond the surface. After some serious introspection, I came to embrace and love the challenges that the individuals of Jepson posed to me each class. These challenges, I believe, are what has made this experience both positive and transformative. Jepson is unique from other educational routes in the sense that we are asked to place ourselves in unfamiliar and sometimes uncomfortable situations to see issues from a different perspective, while simultaneously learning more about ourselves. Whether I was picking up shell casings off the streets of downtown Richmond on my police ride-along, or backing myself out of a corner in a heated classroom debate, each of these challenges taught me something about our community and about myself. This past summer, I traveled to a small village, Ilboru, in northern Tanzania, and I found that this is where my leadership studies education really came to life. I worked as a medical intern in a hospital, and these challenges that I had been pre-exposed to in Jepson became a part of my everyday routine. I reflected on my experience in justice and civil society to sympathize with patients coping with painful and precarious diseases. I drew on theories and models to strike a balance between being respectful to doctors at the hospital while also incorporating my own ideas. Everything that I had read, learned, and discussed at Jepson came to life through this experience. I hope that you let Jepson take you on your own unique route. It has taken me from the streets of downtown Richmond to a third world village halfway around the world. We are all so lucky to be part of a community like Jepson where our peers and professors push us to become better versions of ourselves. Throughout your time at Jepson, keep an open mind and let your classmates and professors challenge your thoughts. Jepson is a transformative experience, and if you embrace it, you will walk away with something that is invaluable. Thank you.